You're listening to the Visibility, Influence and Impact podcast, episode number 70.
Hello and welcome to the Visibility, Influence and Impact vlog and podcast. I'm your host, Jane Mackay from Jane Mackay Communications, marketing coach who works with people across the world to build the businesses that help them create impact. Today, I'm very excited to be chatting with my Insta friend, Clare Wood. Clare is a money mentor, author, speaker and podcaster. She's a qualified CPA, accountant for those of you overseas, but she's not your average bean counter. She loves a money gun and she uses her money-making mentoring powers for good. Clare helps service-based businesses to scale while creating a lifestyle they love. Clare runs the Profit Academy, an online school created to help business owners increase their profits exponentially. I'm so excited to have you here, Clare.
I'm so excited to be here. We were already having a great chat off the air and I got the giggles. So I'm glad that we've pushed record.
we had to hit record because we were going off on tangents already, and we're totally here for that vibe because we don't need to be formal, but we're here to be, in Clare's world, exponentially profitable. So I know a little of your story. Obviously, I've followed you on Instagram for a really long time, but I'd love for you to tell us your story for those of our audience who don't know you yet.
Oh, okay. I'm like, where do we start? I was born, no. Look, my background is that I'm an accountant by trade. I worked as an accountant. I did my uni degrees and worked as an accountant for many years. And I always had this inkling that I was meant for something more or something different. I shouldn't say more, something different. And I remember that I was always obsessed with business owners. I'd ask them all these questions. And I met a guy in Croatia on a sailboat and he would disappear every day for a couple of hours. And one day I said to him, "Where do you go?" And he told me that he was running a business. He ran a digital design business. And I was just like, whoa, that is the coolest thing ever. So he just traveled and would do a couple of hours of work each day. I never actually had the courage to start my own business. But when I was 8 months pregnant with my child, I strongly encouraged my husband to start a business. So he started a business and then I was helping him with his business. And I got made redundant while on maternity leave with my first child. This happens to 1 in 4 women in Australia. It is incredibly common. And yeah, I was helping him with his business. And he said, "Babe, you're really good at this." And I'm like, "I know." And
Hello.
he said, "People would pay you for this." So that's how my journey got started. That was 8.5 years ago. And since then, I've been on a massive growth journey. I've written a book and become a best-selling author. I've gone from being someone who was terrified to post a photo of me on my Instagram feed to now putting myself out there and saying, "Hey, I'd love to speak on the stage, be on your podcast." My confidence has skyrocketed through a lot of the work that I've done on myself over the years. And yeah, I love to support my clients on their journey to step into their most confident and profitable selves.
It's a funny thing because obviously the podcast is called Visibility, Influence and Impact, that the visibility piece is such a mountain for a lot of business owners to climb. And obviously you help business owners become more profitable. And when you're profitable, you're perceived as more successful. And obviously that can often propel people to having that confidence to be more visible. Do you see that correlation in the work that you do?
I believe that the inner work has to happen before the outer work happens. And I know that might seem a little bit counterintuitive. It's easy to go, "Oh, it's easy to be
Fake it till you
confident."
make it.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, like I have found in so many areas that really the inner work happens before the outer work happens. And I like to share my journey because I think that if you were new to my world and went and looked at my feed, I'm literally in a bikini on last night's post. If you had told me that I wouldn't even wear a bikini a couple of years ago. And I think that it's a journey, and I just want to be really transparent that it's taken a long time to get here, and that honestly my self-love journey started way before the actual external stuff happened. It really, yeah, it's about starting where you are and continuing to do the work.
And realizing that there isn't really a destination.
100%. And I think that that's the thing. I'm good friends with someone who's known as the Queen of Confidence, Creamer, and she still has confidence issues and days when she freaks out and doesn't feel great and gets nervous before she goes on stage. And so I think that that's the thing, to your point. It's just a new level.
It is. And it's also backing yourself. It's like, and another really big aspect I found, and I don't know whether this has become because I've got older, is it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
We become very like, I cannot be wrong. I cannot make mistakes. And I think that fear of being wrong is what holds a lot of people back. So, and the big word out of 2020 was pivot. If you get it wrong, just pick yourself up and keep going.
Pivot.
Just pivot. So you mentioned off air, you have 2 kids, and a lot of our listeners are busy mums and entrepreneurs. So how do you manage your life? Like, the dream is to work 2 hours a day. Like, that doesn't come in the beginning.
Yeah.
Very few people start at 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Look, it's an ever-changing game for us as a household. I've gone through stages of having we've had a couple of nannies over the years, which again, I totally acknowledge is a privilege. At the moment, we're just winging it. So a nanny resigned just so I am picking my kids up from school, taking them to soccer. I'm in the car working with my laptop on my knees while they're at soccer training. It really is a juggle. And I want to acknowledge and empathize with all the parents out there, because it really is a whole new level of juggle. And and I guess one of the biggest things that I would say is just get the support in whatever form that looks like. So with nannies, I have a cleaner as well, and she's just a godsend. I don't know how anyone survives parenthood without a cleaner.
FYI, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I have no help and no cleaner, but we make it work. It's chaotic.
Oh, yes. And, and maybe I was going to say, maybe that help doesn't look like, a nanny or a cleaner, but maybe it looks like emotional support or being able to be kind to yourself, because sometimes, you might have these big dreams and you say, do you know what? Because I don't have that support there, I'm just going to have to take things a bit slower. And that's the support that you get is the kindness that you give yourself, or that, as a family unit, you recognize and acknowledge. So it's just sort of trying to figure out the right path for you, and it will change at different stages too, I found.
Yeah. I've had this business since before I had kids, and then all the way through babyhood. And then now my eldest is in high school and my littlest is pretty self-sufficient. But one of the things I found is that you need to, as you said, be kind to yourself. So many people are, comparing themselves to these big, people in their industries. And then you look at their lifestyle and go, well, you don't have kids, or you've got a big team, and just your journey is not going to be, well, for one thing, it's never linear, and it's never going to be the same as someone else's. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to be successful and to hit 6 figures and all of these different milestones that we put on ourselves. And often they can actually restrict us. And, just be kind to yourself and take the pressure off, and, do what feels fun is one of the big things that I always
100%.
kind of have conversations with clients. Just what's fun, just do that.
And, you can't compare your journey as well. A lot of the people that I used to compare myself with have a stay-at-home partner, absolutely everything for them. And even that doesn't really excite me. I think that would be an awful lot of pressure on, being a breadwinner. But I think that's true, is it's like everyone's got different abilities and support systems, and Yeah, you just got to do what's right for you in your little.
Exactly, in your little bubble.
Yeah, that's it.
So every day you show up being fab. What does a really great day in the office look like for you? Like, how do you structure your time? What type of work do you do? Because often people think we're hustling. Like, people, I find a lot of my clients are gone, I have to be busy from 9 to 5 because then I'm productive. And it's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean profitable, babes. So
Yeah. Look, again, it's different at different stages. A couple of years ago, I mean, my days were just back to ching. I was really full on in the, you know, and hours of working with my clients. It looks and these days a lot of days are spent on visibility work. So podcasting, I've recently started YouTubing. I do shoots where someone else is recording me for reels and things like that. I have a ton of fun doing stuff like that. I'm doing a lot of paid speaking as well. And this is the thing. I was the most anxious, nervous speaker many years ago. I couldn't even in a meeting, if my boss would say, "What do you think, Claire?" Sometimes I'd run out of the room. I was so overcome by fear of having to speak in front of my team. And now I love this stuff. It's fun. Like, to be recording is fun, to be meeting amazing humans like you and having a chat on a podcast. Like, this is the kind of work that I'm really doing a lot of at the moment, and really loving it. And of course, juggling household, children, school pickups, all of those things in amongst there. But yeah, it's definitely changed. My average workday's changed a lot over the years. I absolutely love coaching. I love one-on-one coaching, but I'm also not doing as much of it these days.
Yeah, it's hard. I find coaching in all its forms and this sort of stuff really lifts me up, gets me excited. And then I end up like content creating, and then I get too much in my own head, and then I'm like, oh, go back to coaching, spend some time with some people. Let's do that. Let's hang out with my group. And
Yeah.
it's really funny because no matter what I do in terms of coaching, because I'm actually, this might surprise you, an introvert. And so if I spend too much,
Really?
yeah, I know. If I spend too much time with people, I'm like, I
Yeah.
have to go and hide now. But
Yeah.
the more I do this sort of stuff and the more I do speaking and honestly, someone asked me to do and I was the same as you, like very nervous about speaking. And I was asked to speak at a conference, like just be on a panel, not actually do a speech. And I think they asked me in the November and it was in the July. And I was like having nightmares about it. I wish they'd just told me the day before.
Yeah.
Like, just don't give me warning because I will be stressing about it. But now I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? I say something stupid. That's fine. That's fine. I can be wrong. It's fine. I'm very okay with that now. But I think that comes with a level of maturity going, no one's going to hold it against you,
Yeah.
you know? Anyway, and so we've touched on visibility and what has being visible in your business, what does it mean to you? How's it changed your business? As I said, it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah. I think that what I would say, it's really changed opportunities for me. So able to be like, people come and say, will you come and speak at my event? Will you, be on a panel at a conference? Will you do these? And that comes from people seeing you doing that kind of work. I think that this is the thing with visibility, is it really is opening up new opportunities for you to get in front of new audiences. And that's why we do that. And also obviously impact as well. You can sit in your own little bubble working with your same group of people, but if you really want to help more people, getting more eyeballs on your brand and the work that you do is the best way to do so. And that's why we get visible.
Yeah, it's about amplifying who you are. And unless people get to see you, they don't know who you are. And we very much connect with people on an energetic level beyond us telling them what we do. And I found that being visible really just amplifies our message, amplifies our brand. People get to know us and all our quirky different ways. And that's can be from a marketing perspective, that point of difference. Like I had a client come to me and say, I binge all your reels. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, I found it. They were really funny. So I was like, I want to work with her because she's funny. And I'm like, yeah, oh, okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but don't judge me.
I always feel the most awkward when one of like the school mums adds me and I'm like, no, this is not content for you.
I didn't want anyone I know in real life to see this.
Yeah, exactly.
So that leads me perfectly to my next question. How do you show up fully as yourself in your business other than being in your bikini? Which I admire deeply because there ain't getting me in a bikini in winter and there ain't much of it in summer at the moment. I can't even imagine it's freezing.
Look, it's funny because I actually really struggle with the concept of, do I need to be more polished and perfect? And someone once said to me, I know in my early days in business, I got a new client. In our call, I swore, and I'm not a huge swearer, but every now and again, it might slip out. And this like dinner plates, and they said, "Oh, I didn't know that you swore. You never swear in your podcast or any of your content." And I realized that trying to be professional, seamless had given someone an inauthentic perception of me. And so what I've realized is, I keep having this aha. I can look at a lot of these really high profile people. I'm like, they're is seamless and they're so elegant. And I'm like, I'm not elegant.
No.
I'm gonna
if I was not me on my content and then they had one call with me, that clarity call, and be like, you are not who I expected you to be.
I've had that experience a lot over my years in business. For example, interviewing someone and I'm like, you're a completely different person to the way that you portray yourself online. And I don't want people to have that experience with me and my brand. I want it to be really seamless. I want them to come in and, spill sauce on myself and make a joke of it and be like, oh, well, that's consistent with who line. So I think that for me has been something really important, is to try and be as much of me. And I know that people struggle with this a lot because they think, oh my gosh, I've got to show up and I've got to show my kids on my feed or talk about my relationship troubles or whatever. You don't have to give all of you be authentic. So there's lots of parts of your life that, you might not want to share online, and that's totally okay. But being authentic is being you in the online space as well.
Yeah. And in the context of your business, not everyone wants that. And I always joke about this. And if you've been watching my podcast for a while, I used to have straight blonde hair and now I have curly dark hair. And that's because, for many reasons, but I was wanting to be an example to my daughter. So my hair is not wrangleable. Okay. It's like, and I just was never going to be the Marie Forleo with the luscious hair. And I make a joke about that all the time. Like, you don't have to be someone you're not. People are not there for what you look like. They're there because you can help them transform to who they want to be and how they want to feel and what they, the be, do, and have. And that doesn't matter if you're some fancy pants, but as long as when you show up on there's always a degree of professionalism, and I'm not a big swearer, but I do drop the F-bomb occasionally. But as long as there's not that disconnect between how you're showing up online and when they actually get to meet you, because then you break the trust, and that is the hardest thing you can ever gain from someone and the easiest thing to break. Anyway, I'll go off on another marketing branding tangent in a minute. So obviously you've evolved so much in your business from when you started to stepping fully into yourself, and that evolution will continue. But one of the things that affects a lot of people is imposter syndrome, the perception of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable. Actually, I must do a podcast on that as well, the perception of imposter syndrome. But what are your methods to overcome this and the bad days in business? Because let's face it, we have them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, to your point, everyone still has their stumbles and moments where I know something happened recently. I can't remember what it I was like, how am I in this room? Or how did this
What am I doing here?
situation unfold for me? And I've got to remind myself, you deserve to be here.
Mm,
You were asked to be here. You are just as worthy as anyone else. And just because you aren't making the same amount of money as these people at the moment, it doesn't mean that you're not worthy or deserving to be in this room. And a lot of this just comes back to that self work that I've done. I remember when I first started to do this work, and it started with mirror work. And I looked in the mirror and I couldn't think of anything I liked about myself. I just stood there
aw.
crying. And then I went, I like my eyes. And that's where it started. And now I'm like, I freaking love me and I'm not, and it's okay. And it's taken a long time to get here. But I had a real wow moment. I was bullied in high school quite badly, physically beaten up.
Oof.
And my high school bully that gave me the blood nose and the eggs on the head and everything, I thought I saw her in my local coffee shop. And, years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I would have freaked out. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's her. And I was like, I feel kind of sorry for her
Mm,
because what she was scared of is what I'm capable of. And, you know, people aren't being mean to someone who, they think they're not by or scared of. And,
mm.
and at this real moment, like I sort of felt real empathy and I was going to say hi. It wasn't actually her, but I didn't feel scared. I just felt like, wow, I'm really proud of me and my life. And there's nothing she could say or do, even if she came and beat me up. I'm like, she can't hurt me anymore. It was a really, really beautiful full
Wow.
circle.
And that's just, yeah, instead of having that visceral fear response, you're like, oh, sorry that you're like that
Yeah. Yeah.
or were like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's
So
really
a
good.
lot of work on me, on loving me, and yeah, learning to love the not, that it's even the not so lovable
The
bits on the
perfectly
face.
imperfect is how I say it to my
Exactly. I
kids.
love that.
Yeah, you're
Exactly.
perfectly
Yeah,
imperfect. It's
exactly.
and everyone is. Everyone has flaws and
Mm.
everyone that's called being a human.
Yeah,
Um
exactly.
and some days we're a terrible mother and some days we're awesome. But and every day we just got to keep on going. And I say to my kids, you got 100% survival rate of your worst days. So just tomorrow's new, you can keep going.
Mm.
It's a funny old thing, life. Anyway. Um, what does having influence mean in your business? Obviously, you're an influence for good.
Yeah. Yeah. Influence means being able to encourage or empower people to make decisions that hopefully are, have a positive effect on their life. Like you
Generally, that's what
said.
we aspire to.
Yeah, hopefully that's
Yeah.
influence is influence is basically the ability to help other people to make decisions to change. And ultimately, influence in the online world is being able to say to people, hey, this is possible for you, or hey, you can solve that problem that you have. I now live in front home, and that possibility was cracked open to me because of an online mentor that I followed. And she had a beachfront home. And I was like, could I have a beach? I'm like, I'm the kind of person who can have a beachfront home. But I actually went and met her in person. I went to that she hosted. And I was like, she's just a nice, normal person, very down to earth. And she decided she wanted. And that cracked open to me, which is now my reality. And I think that this is the thing, is that it never would have occurred to me in a really low socioeconomic household. It never even would have occurred to me that I can live in a waterfront home.
Mm,
It didn't even seem like something in my sphere, but I was influenced to think, hey, this is possible. A lot of the work that I'm doing in the not-for-profit space as well, I'm a president of it, and that's open to me by starting to be, hey, we can make a difference in this world, and being inspired by what I was seeing other people doing in the online world and thinking, how can I create impact? How can I help support charity? And again, that's what influence is. And we can use our spaces, our visibility, businesses to say to other people, hey, guess what's possible for you? And that's what influence means to me. It means being able to leave the world a better place than we found it. And hopefully, inspiring other people to make change in their world for the better.
Yeah. And that impact that is exponential, because I was talking about getting more money in the hands of good people. And like that, if I impact that person's life and then it just flows out, because women give more money in their community.
Yeah.
And you talk about working in the not-for-profit space, and if as women we all have more money, then we're more likely to volunteer, we're more likely to donate. And I think that's a really big part of empowering women to have money, obviously, which is a focus of what you do. And money's fun. Let's face facts. It's really fun. You get to do fun stuff. So
and
that I think
knock-on effect. I know people that I've mentored over the years. I've now seen them step in and be starting their podcast. And one of my former masterminders, I saw she started coaching now. And I'm like, whoa, like that has now lifted her. And then she's building all around that. My husband's also taken on a vice for a not-for-profit. And again, I'm like, I suspect that part of that has been seeing the work that I've been doing. And it's really cool how, we can have these ripples of positivity.
And also be really great examples to our kids and their friends. I actually had one of my daughter's friends' mums come up to me the other day and said, oh, you're a really, I won't name her, but this child really loves what you're doing. She follows you on TikTok and Instagram, and you're a real example to her, because a teacher told her that writing was not a viable career. And I'm like, sorry, excuse me? I'm like, all right, I had to do more reels, talk about creating a business for this young person, because that's what we're doing as well. We forget that it's not just our peers and our clients seeing us online. It's this whole, everyone that's coming after us. That event that I spoke about, where I was on the panel, Tracy Spicer was the keynote. And one of the key things, like one of the key messages that I left that event was, she said, you can't be what you can't see. And so when we're stepping out there and we're, living in our message, which is what we do as personal brands, and, in service-based businesses, we're not saying, I'm going to make you a widget. We're saying, I'm going to help you achieve a transformation. I'm going to help you change your life for the better. And that, saying that there are people out there that can do that, shows all these other people that it's possible.
Yeah.
And that's what you mean. When someone shows you what's possible, you get to see what you can be. And that's so incredible, and it gives us permission to say, okay, I can have that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's wild. So what are your tips for all the people listening out in Australia and the world about getting fearlessly visible in their businesses and their lives?
Oh, okay. Well,
I know this is a juicy one.
It starts inside. I would say do that inner work, like learn to have your confidence, because it does become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I spoke to my clients about asking questions that you think the answer will probably be no for. So into a shoe shop. I remember the first time my husband said, I bought a pair of sneakers, and he said, did you get a discount? I was mortified. I said, no. And he's like, ask for a discount. So I was so nervous. I said, can I get a discount? And they said, are you in a running club? I said, no. And they go, oh, I'll just say I'll give you 10% off.
Thank you, sweet.
And I'm just blown away.
I don't even barter when I'm in Thailand.
Yeah, well, there you go. But the thing is, a lot of us won't, that because we're scared that we're going to get a no, and you need to get comfortable with the no.
And if that's the worst case scenario, it's really not a big deal.
Exactly. But I put myself out there all the time. I was asked recently to be on a panel, and I said, can I be a speaker? She said, and I said, oh, cool. Okay, looking forward to being on the panel. I'm getting paid for it, which is great. But Do you see what I mean? Like the fact that I would even ask that question puts that into the sphere of possibility. And I think that this is a big thing. Like, first of all, work on your confidence. But when I get a no, I don't get anymore. Like, and I think that that's the need to get comfortable with getting no's if you want to get yeses. And so if you say, hey, could I do this thing? And someone says, no, you go, okay, cool. Thanks. All the best. Asking someone, hey, do you want to work with me? And they say, no, you say, okay, thanks. Thought I'd put it out there anyway. And I think that that's the big thing that I would say is just getting really with being uncomfortable and asking questions that you're like, it's probably going to be a no, but hey, I'm going to ask it
I'm going to
anyway.
give it a whirl.
You just never know. And that's really where it does kind of start is getting opportunities. And what you find too with opportunities, it becomes a snowball effect. It's the first time that you put a piece of content out there and then you go, oh my gosh, I got new followers. And then you go, okay, I'm going to do that again. And it really does amplify. The first time that you do a speaking opportunity, again, it will amplify and amplify and amplify.
It's funny, that's how this podcast started. I, as a joke, said to Kate Toon, would you like to be on my podcast that doesn't exist? And she's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, seems I have a podcast now. And that was way back when, and I've only done 70 episodes, but they've all been fun. So Claire, how can everyone find out more about you and your work? And I'll put all of this in the show notes, FYI.
Brilliant. Well, the main place I hang out at the moment is on Instagram. So it's Clare, CLARE_Wood coach. And I've got my podcast, the Clare Wood podcast, book, Intentional Profit. So my YouTube recently, I'm in all the places.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm in all the places too.
I'm in all the places.
All of the places. Just Google me. Well, thank you so much, Claire. It's been fabulous to hear about your journey.
Oh, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thanks so much for having me, Jane.
Thanks for listening to the Visibility, Influence and Impact podcast. If you'd like access to the show notes, please visit my website, jmackaycommunications.com.au/blog. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, please subscribe. Until next time, keep getting fearlessly visible, create your influence and generate an exponential impact on your world.